serious.
I could crush you like a worm.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Do or do not. There is no try.
All right. How we doing, everyone?
Did it work?
I think it
Are we
worked.
here?
We're here. It
Good
appears everything's working. Hold on, this could be a miracle. New technology trying out tonight.
You had to get all fancy tonight.
Oh man, we're up on YouTube and Facebook
Are
at
you
the
going to be
same
monitoring
time.
YouTube chat? I mean, Facebook chat?
I'm gonna be doing them both.
Got it
So,
all. Cool.
All right, you get what you. Yeah.
I am going dark so I don't pull from our internet.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Nice. So it looks like, let's see here. Let me pull these guys up.
I hope everyone had a great weekend. It was nice to have a night off. We missed you all.
Got
was
10
like-
peeps already. Nice.
So
And
our
I'm-
nice night off, we were planning on spending time together, maybe watching a movie. And it was the one night in a really long time that B decided after being asleep for an hour that she was going to melt down for the next 2 hours. And so much for that. I'm hoping she doesn't repeat that tonight because otherwise I'm going to have to sign off early.
Yeah. So, hey, Brandy. Hey, Peter. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Billy. Good to see you. Any updates, Billy? Hey, Victor. Good to see you. It's good to see everyone over here. And so far, so good. Strong on YouTube. Great. All right. So, a couple things. I was in the shower having some deep thoughts yesterday, right?
The best place for deep thoughts.
Yeah, the best place for deep thoughts. Hey, great to see you, John. And, I'm in the shower after working out. Yes, working out felt good. Deb, good to see you. And it kind of struck me. I had looked at and watched a little bit of that Fox concert
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
the world and all that stuff. Hey, Tony, good to see you. And I had I don't know, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, enough's enough. And it's good. Basically, the fear stops here, man. The belly aching, the doom, gloom, sad, whatever. I'm over it, right? It's time to throw the switch, go to beast mode, and it's time to start clawing out of this. With everything we got, kicking, clawing, screaming, biting, it's time to fight our way through to solutions through this.
Especially since our governor just told us that we are locked down in our houses until June 10th.
June 10th.
So let's find solutions and be positive because that's a long couple months.
Hey, Kate, good to see you. So this does not mean that sad things are not going to happen, okay? And it doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen because they are going to happen and tragic things are going to happen. It means that the mission is first right now, and the mission is we got to get through this and then process all that. Mm-hmm. We are in 5-alarm crisis mode. Let's get through this. And here is my promise to you guys. I will filter through the crap and I will bring you what I think is important to you. Good news, bad news, just the stuff that I think that you need to know that might change your reality. And then we will work together to find solutions for that. I may have them all, or I doubt it. No one has all the answers, but as a community and with the people that we have here, and the people we have access to, let's find solutions and let's help solve each other's challenges because this is just going to get worse. All right? It's just going to get worse. And what's happening in New York is going to roll through every town. And
the major cities.
The major cities are going to, it's just almost impossible to contain in a free democratic society. People just won't tolerate the level of security and lockdown that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll learn all of our lessons in New York and as that spirals, they can say, we're not going to have another New York,
Yeah.
right?
There might be another one or two, but hopefully at least the city's kind of towards
right.
the back end of it might learn the lesson.
Right. And because of that, I think we have a chance of, flattening the curve they're talking about. More and more people, what I call COVID deniers are, waking up and noticing that this is, this is real. Mm-hmm. This is we've never shut the country down for the flu. They don't bring refrigerated 18-wheelers to hospitals to store bodies.
Yeah.
Because they can't keep up with them during flu season. That's just a little something for, you guys to use when you're talking to these deniers and you're trying to save their lives. Mm-hmm. I got into I'm going to cover this a little bit with a different friend, but I got into an argument with a friend of mine yesterday or 2 days ago.
A couple days ago.
A couple days ago. I can't remember if I talked about it last night, but I
think you did mention it on Saturday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That a friend of mine who's a risk professional, I didn't think he was taking it serious enough. He was making some bad decisions. And, I started trying to talk to him and he got very angry with me and, basically, calling me all kinds of names and telling me I'm preaching at him. I'm like, hey, dude, I care about you and your family. I don't want you to bring this home to your wife and your kids. If I'm a jerk for that, then I'll be a jerk. And he hung up on me and then called me back, or actually texted me back about 20 minutes later after he cooled off fully, said he was sorry, said I was 100% right. And he just needed to blow up on somebody. And it was me. And I said, I'm glad it was me. I got thick skin. I've been around dudes, I've been in dark places, and that's what friends do. Mm-hmm. You don't let a couple crass words separate friends, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we come down on that.
I think a lot of people would benefit from a friend like you.
Yeah, well, I'm not always the best friend. I just try to be a good one. I try to be the friend that I would want. Because God knows I put my foot in my mouth a lot. I put my foot in my mouth all the time, and maybe the reason why I forgive so much is because I've messed up so much. Hey, Justin, good to see you. Hey, Candlin, good to see you. Thanks, Billy. They're still working on him, waiting on the update now. No family allowed. There is, I assume that's no info or
info is slow coming.
Is slow coming. I will definitely let you all know. All right, Billy. Our thoughts and prayers with your
son-in-law. Yeah, well, we're so glad that he's still around.
Yeah, at least fighting. It seems like he's getting better if he wasn't expected to make the night.
Yeah, a couple nights ago.
And now he's still with us a few days, and that's a good thing, particularly with somebody in his age.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So I'm going to get quasi-political for a moment. And there's a story coming out of Maine where some maniacs, maniacs as they call them, didn't like that some out-of-towners came to their island and were hiding out there from COVID and cut a tree to block the road. And when the dude was trying to get out, like he drove up and approached the tree, a bunch of locals, some of them armed, showed up and told him that you need to stay quarantined, get back in your house. That's out of Maine. All right.
On an island in Maine.
An island in Maine. People are dropping trees to keep people.
As if an island is not quarantined enough.
Yeah. So this is a forecast, unfortunately, of what I think we're going to see if this continues to escalate, which I think we all can agree
people
will.
Taking the law and such
it's the law into their own hands, and now you're hearing about neighboring states telling New York not to cross their border and not to come into their states, which brought up a funny topic to me. I was thinking about during the election and how everybody in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, all those states didn't sure as hell want a southern border or a northern border or any borders enforced. But now that it's their time. They don't even want to take New Yorkers, never mind people from other countries. I find that rather rich of them. And this, if anything, needs to show you that we need to enforce our border, because here is the catastrophe, and the human catastrophe that's coming our way. Mexico has little to no medical infrastructure. This does not respect borders. They already have it there, and people are going to die in droves in Mexico. They have very little order. They don't control vast swaths of that country due to the cartels and everything else. Where do you think all those highly infectious people are going to head? Do you think they're going to head south? No. They're heading to our border. And here's what that looks like when you don't build a wall. We're going to have to put our military on the border with machine guns and tanks and everything else to try to discourage hundreds of thousands of sick, infected people from coming in here and basically laying waste to our country. Not purposefully. Well, I mean, that's not their intent. Their intent is to get care. But we can't even take care of what we got here right now, and absorbing, tens or hundreds of thousands of sick people from south of the border is not an option.
So do you think that they will escalate from how they currently try to handle illegal border crossings?
Without a doubt, because
rounding them up and going to camps and stuff like that.
If we're not going to let Americans travel state to state soon, we sure as heck can't let foreigners who we don't even know who they are, maybe I can't see it when we don't have enough masks and we don't have enough supplies and ventilators to treat Americans.
And, I guess they can't really keep them in those close quarter camps.
But if there was ever a freaking reason to have a border to prove that someone was right and that Trump was right, it's now. You have to be able to control who comes in and out of your country. I mean, if we let 100,000 sick people in, everyone in America would get sick, and it would be terrible.
Yeah, all of our efforts
would be for nothing right now. The economy would be done, and we did it for what? Craziness. All right, so enough of that. I'm going to get off my rant there. I just want, hey, Rambo, good to see you. And, thanks, John.
Well, and so, so that the big immigration issue is one thing. Going back to the main thing about citizens kind of taking it into their own hands to police and quarantine their neighbors and such. I mean, this one was a misunderstanding or a mistake by how it is being reported, and what we understand of the situation is these guys were from out of town, but they'd been there for weeks past the typical 14-day time period, no symptoms, and it was that the Mainers thought that they were supposed to be quarantined. So there was like some misunderstanding of what kind of laws or mandates are in place right now. And I mean, so do you think that there's a better communication that needs to happen from state level on, are we supposed to all be staying home or not? I mean, I think there's so much confusion right now. Even with the statement from in Virginia today, I then went on, my mommy Facebook group, and there was hundreds of comments in a chain of people who had no idea what it meant. They were so confused by this kind of escalated order from Northam today. So I think more clarity will help prevent a lot of these things from happening.
Yeah, well, I think more clarity needs to happen across the board, and I kind of raged on the medical community last night for not getting on the same page, for having, we'll have 20 doctors say the one thing and then another 10 contradict over there, and they basically all need to get on the same damn page, and so that we can all get on the same page, and, I would assume when the lead doctor of the entire country, the Surgeon General, gets up there and tells you something, that is the person who we chose to be the lead doctor. And then Dr. Fauci, who's considered the brightest mind in infectious disease the world has ever known, is up there saying one thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the number 2 brightest scientist, a doctor in the state of the world, who gets up there and says the same thing. But Joey Family Doctor and East Bum, Alabama, gets on social media, hey, now, this coronavirus ain't nothing. It ain't nothing but a shindig.
Don't take any offense, any of you Alabamans out there.
and people run with that because it's scary, right?
But I say, I mean, you're talking medical advice. I'm talking state government advice.
The state it's all part of it. The state government needs to take the official medical, guidelines and push it on out across it. They need to literally be driving around right now with speakers and a tape playing what the official words are. Mm. You know what I'm saying? What the official statement is, that needs to be broadcast over every PD's cruiser all day, every day. And so people understand what the rules are.
But are you saying, because each state is making up their own.
That's fine if you stay, you're not allowed to go to another state really right now. You're not even supposed to leave your town really right now, right? So is there going to be some, I didn't know if you went to Walmart in a different county, then sure, right? But governors are pretty much dropping the hammer on states, never mind just towns, right? Towns aren't really doing anything. It's the state governors. Right. So as long as you're not going from Rhode Island to Connecticut or Virginia to North Carolina, you should know the rules of your your state. But until we have that clarity, and until, there's now an enforceable action, and we're about to have a great guest on, a very dear friend of mine, John Hickory, who I want to talk to him about everything we just talked about, just because of the law enforcement side. So I'm getting ready to bring him on, and then after he's done, we'll talk about some more stuff in the news. But while I'm getting him on, Lauren's got some good news for you. Good news, Lauren.
The good news. There's a few things of good news. So New York today, let me pull this up so I get it right. New York reported today that their number of hospitalization rate is going down. So, we want to wait a couple days to see what the actual trend is, but the highest rate was that they had doubling of cases every 2 days. And as of today, it's doubling every 6 days. So that's fantastic. And so hopefully that means that New York's peak, we're past it and we're on the downslide. We'll see. Obviously, they are still experiencing a high number of cases, but the hospitalizations themselves is what's going down. So that's fantastic. Other good news, and this is, we talk a lot about the unintended consequences of all of our decisions and everything that kind of snowballs from.
Hey, John, I'm bringing you on.
I'll bring this. I'll talk about this later.
Finish your point.
You want me to? Okay. All right.
It's good news. Everybody wants.
Everyone was okay. The environment is loving this lockdown, everybody. So everyone can be happy about that, right? So one interesting fact is, according to Marshall Burke from Stanford University, the reduction in emissions from China in January and February alone could save as many as 77,000 lives.
Wow. So
people are dying over here from coronavirus. We are saving so many lives.
Wow.
From lack of emissions.
Who knew?
That's our good news, people. Hi, Jonathan Hickory.
Thank you, Sunshine Lauren. How you doing? How you doing, John? I miss you, my brother.
Great. How are you guys tonight?
We're doing great. We got you loud and clear on the air. I'm going to crank you up a little bit here. So for those of you who don't know, Jonathan Hickory wrote this amazing book, which I have on camera right now. It's called Break Every Chain, and it's a police officer's battle with alcoholism, depression, and devastating loss, and the true story of how God changed his life forever. It's an amazing book. Mm-hmm. It's an easy read. It's only, there's a lot of pictures, and some of them are really great pictures. 196 pages. So you can read it, heck, in an afternoon or a day or two. We know you're there. We know you're all locked at home, and it's a great book.
I know a lot of the reviews where we started it and couldn't put it down.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. So for any of you guys in a dark place, John gets extremely vulnerable in this book, which is the key of communication when you want to bring a powerful story across, right? And you do a great job of it, brother. I've had the honor of working with you in Albemarle County before, and your book just fell.
It's been plugged enough, right?
But and bringing you on, I wanted to bring you on for a couple reasons. One, to bring awareness to your book in this time. Two, you're an active duty or an actively serving police officer, and the governor of Virginia just put out new guidelines for you guys to do. And, as well as, we know you guys are strapped for manpower, and that service calls in a lot of jurisdictions are no longer really up. It's emergency only right now. And so we wanted to touch bases you with that. And then I wanted to go over, kind of build upon, something that happened between us that I thought would be really helpful for everyone. So
Sure, absolutely.
So first off, we'll start with COVID. So how are things for you right now, John, being a police officer out there dealing with this emergency?
So thanks for asking, Jason. So I think that right now it's kind of a scary time to be anybody, but it's really a scary time to be a first responder, a police officer. And I think that a lot of people are doing the right thing and staying home and staying off the streets. But with that comes, fear, anxiety, uncertainty. And so it seems that mental health calls have gone up, people that are in mental crisis, and also domestic disturbances are starting to increase, at least from what I've seen. And, sometimes you'll have some quiet on the radio at times when it's not usually quiet. So it's almost like we're waiting for the bomb to go off. But I think a lot of people are really uniting as a country. And I hope that it can last because, that's one thing that this country tends to do really well in times of crisis. But you're still going to have that, this is like nothing we've ever faced, or at least not anything we've faced in anyone's lifetime. And so it's very scary to a lot of people, especially with, your family at home. I have 2 children, and I have a pregnant wife due in July. So,
congratulations.
This is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You guys' baby girl is beautiful. She's beautiful, by the way.
Well, your whole family is.
Thank you, sir. But it's scary because it's not just you facing it. It's you want to protect your family, and you feel like you can't work from home. I'm so grateful for those who can. There's so many people who have lost their jobs. So there's when the economy goes in the tank, crime goes up, and that. Excuse me. We're still at the very early stages of this, obviously, but now on Sunday, of course, the president announced that everything's going to stay this way for longer, and with that almost comes just this tiniest little sense of like freak out, because you want to be. Everybody likes to be in some kind of control of their life, but we really don't have a whole lot of that right now.
Yeah.
Suddenly, a lot of things that used to matter just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's, haven't been in your shoes, haven't been a cop and haven't been a SEAL and everything else. I'm okay with fighting enemies I can see. But it's really hard to get, hopped up and, pumped and turn on that aggressive mindset for an invisible virus. You know what I'm saying? When I had an opponent, when I have an opponent, I can analyze their weaknesses. I can do all those things, and I can throw the switch, which is something we talked about earlier. And it took me a while to rally to this because it's this faceless thing that you can't see. You don't know where it is. You got to treat it like it's everywhere. And the way I've been describing this to people, particularly people who weren't taking this seriously, is you have to treat it like it's like it's a gun that you've never seen that's pointed at you. Right?
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Right? You don't know if it's unloaded. You don't know if it works. You don't know whatever, but it could be. And you have to assume the worst right? So you got to treat COVID-19 like it's a gun, like someone's got a gun pointed at you that you've never seen before, right? You should never point a gun at somebody that you want to do it. But what I'm trying to say is give you a visual on how devastating this is. And I think because the medical community couldn't get on the same page, you're like, oh, it's only old and sick people. Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe it's not just old and sick people. Oh, well, maybe you can only get it from touching your face. Oh, wait, no, you can get it from breathing. Oh, wait, it's all these things. And I thought that was really harmful. I understand they were trying to bring calm and all that stuff, but once you blow your credibility, especially in this day and age of social media, when they go back and they analyze this, they're going to realize they needed to get on the same page way sooner, and that people out there cost lives, by influencing other people not to do it, right? So,
that's true.
So John and I hadn't any idea last night. I'm working late and I'm doing stuff, and I get a friend request from John Hickory, and I'm like, some scammer. I'm already friends with John Hickory. I was going to reach out to you and say, hey, your account got thing, and I get over there, and I see this text message, and it's John. I'll throw it to you, John, on what it said, and then we can go from there, because it's really important. I think it highlights the stress of the times. And you said some compelling testimony in that, which I think is what a lot of people are suffering from, that I think is literally the most important part of that message.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll take it back maybe a couple of weeks. And when I first started hearing the buzz, I haven't been following this like some other people have, and I give you credit for your preparedness, and you're trying to help and reach others with the knowledge that you have. But the first time that I got wind of it was, just a couple of weeks ago, and it just seems like it's been going to crazy town ever since.
Yep.
At first, I was, we all know the media spins everything. And tries to, use scare tactics and fear factor to sell news, and to get people to watch and get ratings. But so I was like telling people, like, look, don't believe the hype, and trying to downplay it so people didn't panic. Because as a police officer, and also as I'm actually a chaplain now as well, I don't want to see people in a state of panic. I want to see people in a trusting God and in control. And the Bible even says we're supposed to have, we're not created with a spirit of fear. We're created with a spirit of power and love and self-control. And so I was really trying to, just influence others in a positive way when everybody else, seemed to be running to the stores and cleaning out the paper products for some. I still don't really understand that, but I think we'll always remember that should go in the history books. Like the first phase of the coronavirus was the great toilet paper scare. But as the weeks continued, and you actually and another retired officer had kind of approached me and said, like, hey man, like, what you're talking about, you just need to be quiet. And I took offense to it, and I was like,
I didn't exactly say it that kind.
That was a very vanilla version of Jason Perry.
Okay. I was so frustrated with deniers at this point. I used a lot of a particular phrase that was very unkind for please stop saying stuff.
It's okay. All is forgiven. We've moved past it. But yeah, so just for all the eager listeners, can I say what you wrote or no?
Sure, of course.
Okay, so and it's not. You put the PG rated version in. So you basically said STFU, which I think we all know what STFU stands for, and so that's what kind of triggered a little bit of anger in me, and like, okay, I see where you stand, and we all kind of get polarized towards each other, especially on social media. I never really understood that either, but so. Anyway, I kind of ignored it, and I think I deleted the post that you had said that on, and I was like, okay, well, peace be with you. Let's move on. And then I posted something else, just trying to encourage people with some sort of positive statistic. And then you said, dude, when will you learn? And then you posted a link to one of your videos about how angry you were about people trying to calm people down.
Not calm down.
And so,
with deniers.
Deniers, yeah. So I still need to watch that video, and I will now. Okay, so.
You mean you don't find his tact persuasive?
Well, so tact is a great word. I was going to say that. But, we all have to know that, Jason's background is a unique one. And Jason has a huge heart, if you know him. And so sometimes he doesn't always come across the most fluffy and huggable. But he means well, right? So... but in that moment, I had just, we're all under so much stress right now with the fear, the uncertainty, the unknown. And I do trust God. I'm a very much a God-fearing, faithful man. But, that doesn't mean that I'm not afraid. And so I wanted you to be wrong. And I didn't, we hadn't seen the numbers in the United States. And, so anyway, when you told me, "Hey, dude, when are you going to learn?" That I just, it caught me at a bad moment, and I was like, "Okay, I've had enough of Jason Perry," and I went to your page and unfriended you at that moment, and I immediately felt bad about it. Like it was something that I kind of did in anger, and so I already felt bad about it. But it took me probably 2 or 3 days before I friended you because I was feeling so awful about it. And I'll tell you, Jason, I know I'm running on for a while, but I want to tell you what got my attention. I've started I don't know about everybody else, but I'm watching entirely too much of these press conferences with the president. And I usually catch them not live, but later on YouTube through Fox News' YouTube channel or whatever. And, I had also started to watch a separate interview with Dr. Fauci. This guy is very well respected. I think he's incredibly brilliant. And in the interview, the reporter asked him what he thought the realistic scenario was for this country as far as infected and number of deaths. And so Dr. Fauci started talking about all these different models. And you can't trust the models because some are way too extreme and some are way too mild. But he said, realistically, we can probably expect 100 to 200,000 cases. And that's what he said. But then he caught himself and he said, "Oh, I meant deaths. Yeah. 100 to 200,000 deaths in this country is what he's expecting." Yep. And, he said it like he didn't blink an eye. So that's when it kind of got really real for me. Like, oh my gosh, I'm an ostrich with my head stuck in the sand. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to hear this because I don't want it to be true. But I was wrong. And I need to make amends. And it wasn't just with you. I needed to apologize to another retired officer, that I mentioned earlier. So, So that's when I reached out to you and I was like, "Hey man, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. And the truth is that I was afraid and I didn't want you to be right."
Yeah. And I thought that statement you just said there struck so true. And it explained a lot of things on why a lot of people I care about and people who, I respect were having a hard time seeing this. And it's because nobody wants to believe bad news, right? I mean, and this is right. This is some terrible news. But what do we do with this, right? I mean, you guys are out there on the streets still. You're better men than I. There's no harder job than being a law enforcement officer. And, the thing that's so compelling is you guys aren't trained in this stuff at all. I'm lucky. I was trained in chemical warfare. I was a medic, so I was trained on how to deal with all this stuff. So I'm way ahead of the curve. You guys are out there. They hand you a little flimsy mask and say, "Good luck." You know, you don't know how to,
Yep.
you know, not contaminate a zone. You don't know how to scrub down. You don't know how to, you know, decontaminate yourself. You don't have any of that stuff. And the fact that they're not training you to do that is reprehensible, in my opinion. Right? Like literally, they need to take all these people and show them how they need to come when they come home, how to get clean. You know, how to de-jock at the front door. Right? Like how, like, because you're out there in the street, dude, and now as a cop, you know, how do you deal with this? And the key is, you know, you gotta, you know, the 21-foot rule, you know, you're gonna have to respect that. Now, obviously, you can't stay 21 feet away from everyone. You'll be shouting, but I don't trust a 6
Especially when you got to put handcuffs on, right?
Right. When you got to go hands on, that's a completely other story, right? So, you know, the main thing is you're going to have to use a lot of discretion, bro. Right. And you're going to have to keep your stuff there. And I think having, you know, being and you know, coming up with some procedures for cover officer and second officer for somebody to mask up, right, while the other guy's keeping them distracted, right? Just like, you know, while somebody's getting their cuffs ready or whatever. It really, like, number 2 officer on the scene, because you've been on there and you're maintaining that distance, really needs to roll up with their PPE on. You know, their personal protective
That's a great idea.
You know, so second man, third man, fourth person, or, you know, person, man or female, they really need to show jocked up to this. So now they can take over control. You can get your PPE, and if you have to go hands-on, you can go hands-on with some protection on, you know, and you guys should be carrying boxes of gloves, dude. Like boxes of gloves.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
And for those of you who've joined us recently, we're talking to John Hickory. He is an active law enforcement officer in Albemarle County, you're Albemarle County,
Yep.
and author of Break Every Chain. And so, John, so you just talked about how you've kind of recently come to this acceptance of what's going on in the last couple of days. So I'm just wondering, in the last couple of days, what have you changed about either how you're approaching this information or how you're talking to others, and then how you might be talking to your family? So with this mentality shift, just share us a little bit about kind of where you are now.
Well, as I said, I've started watching a lot more press conferences, you know, and it's almost like the fireside chats, you know, with FDR during World War II. It's almost like when these press conferences, when I'm watching these, it's almost like the most important thing that's going on in the house. And so I am taking it very seriously now. And now, what can I do to stay away from it? You know, you still need to go to the grocery store. You still need to, you know, go to work as a police officer. And so I'm doing what I can. But, you know, I think that we're all, this took everybody by surprise. And, you know, moving forward, I just think that being as cautious as possible. One small thing that I did, you know, the department provides us with PPE and everything, but, you know, goggles, they fog up real easy, and they're, you know, often scratched and stuff like that, just from being stored. And so one thing that I did is I was at Lowe's the other day and grabbed specifically went there to grab a pair of clear eye protection that I can wear all the time. Just, you know, in case I don't have time to get to the goggles.
That's a great idea.
Like a doctor.
Yeah, as long as you're wearing them all the time, you know, that's a great first step, right? You know, having a pair of goggles. So, like, if you guys know you're going hands-on, like, you know you're going hands-on, I would go get the goggles, because they spit in your face. Just think of that now. Somebody with coronavirus spit in your face, you're done. You got it.
Right.
There's nothing.
Someone did that.
You got it, yeah.
I can't remember where, but someone was just
they did that back when
officers.
AIDS was the big mystery, right? Now, someone spits that in your face, they should be charged with attempted murder, in my opinion. But, you know, that's literally what you're kind of dealing with. And it's not just the gross droplets that land on you, it's mist that you may inhale, right? So that's why the mask is
I don't want to totally misspeak, and I can't remember where, but someone was just arrested for spitting on, I think it was officers, and saying that they had it, and it turns out they didn't. They were just trying to cause fear, and they were charged with making false statements.
That's BS, man. That should be a terrorism charge right there.
I'll see if I can find the story after and share it.
Well, no, they have, and actually in different places, people who've been spitting, like multiple kids. When I say kids, I mean young adults, like over 18, in their 20s, are going around coughing and purposely spitting and licking food, saying that they're sick, and they're getting charged with terrorism charges. And as it should be, because the grocery store had to throw out $50,000 in produce.
50,000.
Yeah, wow. It was some ridiculous amount. John, did we lose you? I heard a click. I just want to make sure you're still there.
No. So I'm still here, guys. I switched to speakerphone because I wanted to read you something.
Sure.
So I just wanted to share this with you because I think it's pretty incredible. So I also haven't been sleeping incredibly well, and I don't know if anyone else has that going on. But it's probably just the uncertainty and the fear. But when I prayed before I went to bed last night, and I'm always praying for not only the healing of our land, but also for the wisdom of our nation's leadership.
Yep.
I believe God put everybody where they're supposed to be. Romans 13, the establishment of the authorities. But when I woke up this morning, I was having a very vivid dream. I don't remember what I was dreaming, but I kept hearing, or repeating Colossians 13:3, Colossians 13:3, Colossians 13:3. I'm like, okay, there's not. So I wake up saying this, Colossians 13:3, and I didn't understand it. So I looked up, I looked it up in the Bible, and there is no chapter 13 in Colossians. But I switched it, Colossians 3:13, and I want to read you Colossians 3:12 and 13 really quick because it's very relevant to the conversation we had last night with the, please forgive me. And that says, put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive.
Yep.
And I was blown away because I really feel like I was given that verse, and it's that is exactly what's going to get us through this national crisis, is treating each other with kindness and meekness and forgiveness. So I just wanted to mention that to you guys because, I feel like sometimes God speaks to us, and I really feel like that was exactly what was going on with that verse.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Thanks for sharing that.
And, I remember saying to you last night, I'm like, bro, if you ever have a problem with me and something I said or did, come to me. And,
right.
Last
well,
thing
that's what I should have done immediately.
Yeah. What I would never, ever, want to lose somebody over something, a friend over a social media post. So now I want to talk about your book, John. I mean, it's gotten a lot of awards. It's been recognized. It's a fantastic book. And I think there's some lessons in here because a lot of people are in dark places, right? And it's kind of that's a kind of a theme in your book, and it's your journey and how you got out of those dark places. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. So, I grew up in Massachusetts, and when I was 12 years old, my father passed away from cancer. Prior to that, my childhood was excellent, very healthy, happy family, and it just completely devastated my life when that happened, losing a father at 12 years old. 3 months after the death of my father, our entire family moved to Virginia out of necessity. My mom needed to find a job, and the University of Virginia is where she was able to find one. And she's also a nurse, by the way, and she's been telling me a lot longer than a lot of people as well that I need to take this COVID-19 stuff, this coronavirus, seriously. So I'm listening, Mom. But, just wanted to get that in there. But, as I navigated through life, I was dealing with a lot of anger, a lot of depression, a lot of darkness. Just feel like I felt like everybody else was doing extremely well, and I was just always floundering. I somehow was able to become a police officer and stay out of trouble enough to do that. But when I became a police officer and facing, just the very darkest moments of the world, as you've said in the past, I think you called it being a firsthand witness to human suffering on an immeasurable scale. And my response to that, already being very broken and never really having dealt with the death of my father, still carrying that with me, that trauma, I very quickly turned to alcohol. And I was, I would say, an alcoholic or addicted to alcohol for over 10 years of my life. I hid it from my family, I hid it from my wife, and was able to kind of function through it. But it was destroying me and making me a very angry and bitter and cynical person, even more so than your average cop. So that was just a joke, by the way. But
most people
I
don't
love
know.
my brothers and sisters in blood.
Yeah.
That's right. So anyhow, I reached a point in my life, that I went through something another loss that was extremely personal, where my wife and I lost. We were pregnant with our second baby and lost the child at 5 months into the pregnancy. And when I went through that, it was just like I just felt like my life was over. I just had seen so much death, so much suffering, and now the death that I had seen affect so many others, had come into my own home. And when that happened, I had no faith in God. Prior to that, very little. I believed in God, didn't really believe God, didn't really have a relationship with God. And so I turned to the world for answers and turned to very self-destructive behavior, went off the rails, really, and did not care who I hurt, and did some amazingly hurtful things. And it almost destroyed my life, because when I started to, it started to catch up to me, and all sin will catch up with us eventually. I got into some trouble at work, and I thought I was going to lose my job and my marriage and custody of my daughter, and all at once. And I was just ready to commit suicide at that point. And so, instead of turning into the darkness completely, I gave my life over to God and said, Lord, I do believe in you. I have not acknowledged you for quite some time, but at this point, I'm done. I've screwed my life up so much, I don't think I can screw it up anymore. And so I'm just going to give it to you. Very, very slowly, my life began to change. And God has, that was in May of 2015 that I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart. And God has restored my entire life, since then. God has restored everything. And, so now I live for him. And yes, that doesn't mean I'm not afraid of what's going on in our nation right now, but I do trust God, and I do know that he's working through this, and we don't get to see all of it right now. But there is a blessing in the fact that everyone has kind of been put in time out from all the things they're chasing in their life. We're all suddenly at home with our families. Mm-hmm. And man, that is such a blessing to me. I love playing with my children. I love spending time with them. And so if there's any good in all of this, it's definitely that. Mm-hmm. But I know that God will do more through this. We just don't know what it's going to be yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, I think, I remember I was actually on a different podcast this morning, on the Frog Logic podcast. Seal Brother had me on there, and he does a lot of psychology, a lot of high performance psychology and stuff. And
awesome.
You should check it out. And he was talking about, asked me when I noticed, that Christians were, when I noticed them in the teams. And one of the things that I noticed was they were so resilient, like things that would bother the rest of us, they were able to endure without the drinking and without the rage and without everyone else had their outlets and they had something else. And that was one of the things that I really noticed. And to this day, the guys I know who deal with combat, the best are typically those guys who had a strong faith background, who could lean on, on God to help them, because without it, it's a heavy load to carry alone. It's a real heavy load.
No, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, just to build on that, I think that, sometimes people don't want to become supervisors and go into the administration of a police department because it's a lot of responsibility, right? Yeah. And so I like to compare it to, like, hey, if you can trust God and know that He's in control, then you don't have to worry about being in control yourself. There are some things that you can control, but you ultimately, if you trust that ultimate control is above your pay grade, then it's a good place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. John, so that we're seeing now, there's starting to be reports that with this kind of shutdown of things and support groups aren't allowed to meet anymore, AA is not allowed to meet anymore, that there's a big fear and already an uptick and people falling back into alcoholism and other addictions. Can you speak to that or speak to those people who might be kind of teetering on the edge of relapsing or going through that themselves?
Oh, absolutely. So, I have a lot of therapies other than my relationship with God. I have a men's group that I try to attend every Tuesday night, and that is, that's group therapy. Whether it's faith-based or not, it's still a form of group therapy. I have, physical fitness therapy, exercise therapy, and I have all these different things that suddenly have been taken away from me. Mm-hmm. And so, I have to lean more into resting in the peace of God. Philippians 4, 6 and 7 says, that you can do not be anxious in anything, but instead through prayer and supplication, let your requests be known to God. You'll have the peace of God that comes through Jesus Christ. And that sounds great, but the reality is that when you're faced with fear and you're faced with losing something that in the physical world is keeping you going and kind of just barely keeping you hanging on, it can be very challenging, and you want to turn back to old habits and things like that. And the only thing I can say is that obviously that's not the answer, and what you resist persists. If you're medicating with alcohol or drugs or something like that, you're trying to medicate a heart problem, and the only way to deal with a heart problem is to fill it with Jesus. And if you're not a believer, if you don't believe in God, then there are still ways to nature therapy is still available. We can still get out into nature and enjoy creation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of groups, my men's group included, is now meeting through Zoom. It's free, and I think you get 40 minutes free or something like that without having to pay. And I was complaining to my wife, that the most annoying thing is that I can't sit there and pick my nose, because now suddenly I'm on camera the whole time. But no,
small problems.
Right, exactly. But it's not the same thing as being there with your, for example, your AA group. In my case, this men's Bible study that I go to, it's not the same thing. But you still get to have the conversation, and there's comfort in knowing that everyone's in the same boat. Mm-hmm. You know what? You're not the only one that's sitting at home, in fear, and you're not the only one with uncertainty and maybe feeling a little bit of anxiety. We were all in this together, and there is comfort in that. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, without a doubt. One of the things that kind of, I guess pisses me off sometimes about believers, and particularly sometimes, that I've seen with pastors, is they kind of treat Jesus and God like a good luck charm, and that they're going to be able to ward away, violence and everything else. And I saw TD Jakes on TV today, and those are his words. I wasn't smart enough to come up with that. And, one of the things that he said was, God wants you to take care of what you can take care of, and then he'll take care of the rest. So, running and jumping in a pool of coronavirus is not the best idea in the world, right? Running up to a 7 foot tall suspect armed with 2 machetes is probably not a great idea. Right. And a lot of people are leading people astray by doing that. And they need to practice, whether they know it or not, or whether they want to accept it or not, they're leaders. And people who need to lead by example with disciplined behavior. Right. And discipline is doing what's right when you think no one's watching, because someone is, always. And I just, I just really want people to understand, particularly law enforcement officers and the ones of us who are, Christians. What happens the first time a Christian missteps? Oh, he's a Christian. And he says he's a Christian, right? I mean, that's the first words out of every non-believer's mouth. I mean, I know I was an atheist. I used to destroy Christians with their hypocrisy and everything else, and use it as a weapon against them. So, it's something that we all have to be on guard with. We have to lead. Right now, it is the biggest challenge of our lives. How we react to this, right? To this crisis is exactly who we are. That is how we are going to be measured. It doesn't get any more real. This is who you are. What you're doing right now is who you are. If you're screwing over other people, if you've been exposed and you're not disciplined enough to stay at home, if you're not helping out your fellow man, if you're not chipping in, if you're laying off people because you want to have a bigger bank account or whatever it is you're doing, that is who the heck you are. And you need to, if you don't like who you are, you need to change it now and make a difference, because everyone's going to need help during this time. Everyone. This is going to impact everyone, whether you lose a loved one or whether it impacts you financially, or your favorite gym, restaurants, whatever close. There is going to be a lot of suffering going around. And as Christian warriors, we need to step forward and be the shoulder that people need to lean on, cry on, and hold each other up. And, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because you're one of those guys.
Well, just remember, you said suffering, and that just reminded me of another Bible verse. I don't even know what Bible verse it is, so I apologize. But it's Paul writes that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. Yeah. So even though suffering sucks while we're going through it, there is fruit that can be that can come from it.
Yep. And and for those of you who are not believers, I'll pull a quote from one of the most famous atheists of all time, Nietzsche. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. Right? So you've got two ways to look at this. It was said in the Bible first, right? Nietzsche just changed the words of it. Right?
Yep.
He just made it, he just, broke it down and said it a little different.
That's right.
So, the main thing is moving forward from here, right? So we know that, you need to go back to your PD and talk to your guys and be like, hey, listen, we need to change our procedures. We need to consider putting on PPE. Number 2 man needs to consider putting on PPE. And maybe that just starts with you, John. Maybe you're the first one who rolls up, and maybe you guys are partnering up for a sector, and you just kind of debrief that, and then maybe it catches on, But that's the type of stuff that we need to start doing. We need to be leading by example. Trust me, when I was walking around Kroger, right, with all my PPE on, I was freaking people out, and people were staying very far away from me. I was doing that for my own safety, right? But I was also doing it to set an example. I was covered in Trident Shield gear head to toe, right? The only one in the whole place with a mask going on there. And I wanted people to see that this is how serious I was taking it, right?
I think you'll probably
And you in
start seeing
uniform,
some more people in mass.
and you in
sequence.
uniform should be doing the same now, right? Because people look at you as order and as a role model, and as you do, they will do.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely.
So, again, John, we really appreciate.
Can I wrap this up with another question? Just so I think we have some new mandates that came out today, and I think a lot of people are confused and wondering kind of what level of enforcement might be taken on these stay-at-home order that came out today in Virginia. As a law enforcement officer, have you all been instructed or coached up on how to handle this new law that's been put in place that they're saying is going to be a misdemeanor if you break any of these rules that they've put out? So are you going to be kind of stopping people on the streets and sending them home, or what are you doing as law enforcement for this?
Well, I know our department's been great, and they have come up with policy as the orders come out, policy comes out. So they're doing a great job, and I can't really speak to how we're going to handle it, but I know that we're not going to be playing like I hate to use the word Gestapo, but I know that officers aren't trying to mess with people's constitutional rights, and so I don't think that people are, you see a car driving down the road, and that's a whole different conversation, because then there's the whole probable cause and stuff like that. So I don't know that a police officer, this is just an opinion. This is not the standpoint of any department, but I just don't know that an officer has the authority to just stop anybody for any reason that they feel like it. Just to see, hey, what you doing? You going to the grocery store or what? Like,
well, there's that. And there's the added factor now that the officer's putting himself in danger, not from all the regular stuff,
exposure.
But now you're getting exposure, because guess what's coming out that window? Breath. Right.
Yeah. Not only that, but maybe a driver's license, and you get a glove up for it. So, certainly, I think that just like the people that we're all trying to do the right thing, and I'm hoping that with the president's order and the governor's order today, kind of reinforcing what was already suggested, now making it like, hey, this is not.
I know that there's a lot of
for real,
Yeah, a lot of chatter about groups of kids that are still out all playing together on the streets. And I know they put out they reinforce the groups of 10 or less with the social distancing parameters of don't get within 6 feet. So would, as a police officer, if you came across a large group of kids out playing, would you go talk to them? Or I think a lot of people are just wondering kind of, is this still a suggestion?
No, I think that, like, the governor said, nobody wants we're not trying to put people in jail over this,
Right.
So I think that obviously it's going to be education over enforcement all day long, I think that there'll be special cases probably where folks are, like that party in New Jersey that made the national news. I don't know if you guys saw that, where the guy was having what he called a Corona party. 47 people in a 550 square foot apartment.
Yeah.
And obviously he got charged for that. So, it's those kind of cases that where people know what's up and they still, just blatantly disregard it. I think that we all can make a mistake and, go get it too close to somebody in the grocery store or whatever, and it's certainly, education is probably the best way to handle it.
Yeah, it's kind of like reckless driving, John. Everyone, it when you see it. You know what I'm saying? When you see somebody do something so dangerous, and and you're just like, you're not going to let that go. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I think that's what it's going to be. People, endangering others is the key. Like, that's how serious this is. And maybe they don't kill themselves, or maybe they don't kill their own family members, but maybe it's somebody else's grandma or someone's kid.
What would you call the line of endangering others, though, with this? I mean,
I drop the hammer on anybody who's violating.
So, like, I'm seeing Scott's mentioning here, he's seeing groups of teenagers playing sports together in close contact. Is that endangering others?
Yep. I'd throw them all in a bus. They'd all be in jail. Boston's not afraid. Boston's not afraid to pull up MBTA buses and arrest entire buildings.
With the, I'm just not familiar with the actual, so like the misdemeanor that was put out as far as this kind of increase in mandate today, that's arrestable and finable? Or John, can you just clarify what is the actual consequence for breaking that on paper?
I don't know that I'm qualified. I'd have to look at it, whether it's a civil offense or a criminal offense or what. But I know the class 1 misdemeanor, reckless driving is a class 1 misdemeanor, but it's a traffic offense. So, and so reckless driving in the right circumstances, could carry all the weight of a class 1 misdemeanor. And the worst of the class 1 misdemeanor can get under Virginia law is, I believe, 1 or 12 months in jail and up to a $2,500 fine.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That's just from memory, though.
Right. And so just to clarify, we're not sure if that same penalty level is going to apply here.
Yeah. So in reality, how I would handle it would be I'd walk up and I'd say, hey, you guys need to break this up. If I see you again, you're all going. Mm-hmm. That's literally how it goes.
Right.
Give them a warning.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to correct it. Educate them on how stupid they're being. Educate them on the consequences. Now you know. Mm-hmm. See you again, you're going.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing. You get a police report of 20 people on a playground. And that's a violation, right? So and you're like, how am I'm a police officer and I'm going to go tell parents not to play with their kids. So it's a hard thing to face as far as enforcement. That's just my opinion. But I think that I'm really hoping that, especially with the governor's press conference today, that people start to take it as seriously as they need to and start really respecting it so that we can slow the spread, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, John, where can people find your book?
So it's probably most easily available on Amazon, but it's on Kindle. It's an audiobook on Audible. It's also
Who reads
available.
Is it you reading it? Is it you reading it, John?
No, it's actually a guy who's done several audiobooks and recently filmed as an actor in a movie called I think it's called Being Trump, where he's an expert President Trump voice impersonator.
Really?
Awesome.
And his name is the guy who reads my book. His name is. He doesn't read in the voice of Donald Trump.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask.
I know. I
You would
should go
sell
back
so
and
many copies.
pay him to do that.
Yeah.
He also does an amazing Morgan Freeman. His name is Will Stoff, and companies are hiring him all the time to do ads on Fiverr in his voice of Trump. Or
That's funny.
If you look him up on Facebook, Will Stoff, you can actually he'll actually read the press conferences when Trump is interacting with the reporters, and he will read it with Trump's voice as Morgan Freeman's voice, and the reporter's voice as who's that really annoying guy that played the voice of the parrot in Aladdin?
I know
Gilbert
you're
Gottfried.
Yeah, that. Oh my God. That's
So the
hilarious.
reporters are Gilbert. He reads it as So anyway, he's a fantastic guy, a professional DJ to boot, and like 30 years of experience in the radio.
You got him to read your book. That's great.
Total segue. He's a family friend.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, it's available anywhere. Break Every Chain. My Facebook is at Break Every Chain Book. My Instagram is at Break Every Chain 911. And my website, breakeverychainbook.com or jonathanhickory.com.
Very cool.
All the links are available there on the website.
Cool.
If you send them to me, I'll put them in the description.
Yep, absolutely, brother. We'll do.
All right. Hey, John, thank you so much. God bless you. God bless your family, and may he protect you. All right.
Yes, and you as well. God bless you guys. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for your
coming on
time
tonight,
and have me on.
Our best to
Yep,
Stacy and the
absolutely.
baby.
Have a great night. Thank you. I will. All right.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I've been dying to get John back on the show. Had him on a long time ago when this was out like a day or two. It was like, I think
That seems like such a lifetime ago.
Yeah. And he's done really well for himself. I mean, it's a great book. It's a great read. And, I thought hearing somebody coming out of darkness would be a great way for us to kick off, the Fear Stops Here campaign. Basically, it's time for us to, again, put the pity party behind us, put the pain behind us, put the fear behind us, put everything behind us, or put it on hold for now. And let's, like I said, fight to take back our lives and fight to, get out of this. Hey, John, thank you so much. Remember, we have one more day in March, and then in April, we're starting the 30 days of preparedness. All right. 30-day challenge. It's free for everyone. I decided to make that free for everyone. Go to our, hold on, I'll show it to you here.
So you guys, for those of you who heard about this 30-day challenge on Saturday, and he talked about kicking off with the big old fast, how many of you guys are psyched up to do that with him?
Yeah, 72
hours.
fast.
Are you still planning on it?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
All right. So you don't have to do it all.
Mama is not doing 72-hour fast.
Yeah, I know. So just by going and doing the Tried and Chill patrons, you're going to be able to participate in this. I'm going to create a $0 per month just supporter thing here. And for 30 days, you're going to get to go through 30 days preparedness, where we're going to start on everything from, we're going to work on your complete life. Right. We're going to start with a course with fitness, working out, taking back your life. This stuff is really, coronavirus is killing all of you preppers like myself. Like, I prepped for the apocalypse in a different way. Right. I thought it was going to be starvation. I was ready. Right. I was ready. I could go a while without food and I would have been fine. All you skinny people would have been hurting. I would have been good to go. But no, it came in a different form.
Different form, and you're still allowed to go to the grocery store, so you don't even need the padding.
Yeah, don't need the padding. So it's time for me to take back my life. I've been waiting to do it for a long time and do that. So physically, right? Then there's spiritually. I'm going to be doing Bible readings every day. You're welcome to take on the same Bible reading that I do on through the Bible app and comment. And, I'm going to pop on here and put a video on what I thought. I am an entry-level Christian, my people. What that means is that...
is that you cannot quote Bible verses the way that John can.
I cannot quote Bible verses the way that John does. I cannot... I just wanted to bring this over here. I cannot quote that like he does, and I have a lot of struggles still with the Bible. I have a lot, especially reading the Old Testament, I struggle, and I'll be brutally honest with you. And then other times I'll be able to read stuff and I'm totally cool with it. And, so that's just something I think that we all wrestle with. There's some extremely challenging verses in the Bible. And I think as, Christian warriors, we have to go forward and acknowledge that. And, maybe we'll be able to help each other out and understand some things. At least that's my hope. All right, then we're going to look at the financial aspect. We're going to sit there, and I'm going to go right through all my credit cards and statements with you guys and sit there and say, okay, we might be looking at an economic downturn and a recession, so it's time to cut all frivolous spending. And I'm going to be sitting there, I'm like, I know exactly one thing I'm going to do right now. Do I need Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus?
And Hulu, which we now
and
need
Hulu.
Because we just got rid of DirecTV, which was a big old bill.
Yeah, we did get rid of DirecTV already, and now it's time to continue trimming down, right? So you have the financial aspect, right? Then we're going to get into tactics. We're going to get into shooting for those of you who want to get into shooting, right? And we're going to start, it's going to start really basic, right? And then it's going to progress, all right? We're going to talk about relationships, right? Because right now, a big part of your base is your family, and setting aside time for your family, deliberate time. I talk to people, some unhappy people at times, and I have to remind them that no one falls or rolls over into happiness. Mm-hmm. Happiness must be pursued and fought for every day. Okay? Every day. If you're not deliberately pursuing happiness, it'll leave you. And that's part of one of the things we're going to do. That and a lot more. I just wanted to throw it up there, but it's going to be available to everybody on the Patreon account. If you go to this, I'll drop the link in here. It's doing it to me again. Oh, no, I got it. Boy. There it is. So if you go and you register for this, I'm going to put up, right after this, I'm going to create a 0 level entry. 0 level.
If you want to take one of the existing levels, that would be awesome.
Yeah, if you want to chip in and help support this program, we'd always appreciate that. But we're going to be putting a ton of work into this. We're going to be talking about it every day. And I really want to lean on each other on this, all right? This isn't a one-way thing. We're there as brothers and sisters and, for people who want to take back their life and prep for the coming storm that could be coming. If this is going to get worse, we need to get good, and we need to get good now. Mm-hmm. So we're going to continue doing this podcast, and it's going to stay exactly in the same format. This is for people who want to go deeper and who want to literally go on the same journey with me. So if you want to see exactly the workouts I'm doing, if you want access to my Fitbit stats.
Brandy, you have done more than enough, my friend. You have done way more than enough. Yeah, so Brandy, please don't take this on yourself.
Good.
We're so appreciative.
Yep. Brandy is an all-star supporter of ours, and we really appreciate it. So, this is just a way for you to take this with me. I'm going to give you access to all my workouts. If I skip or I didn't hit my step day, I expect to hear it in the podcast and light me up. All right. So again, it starts April 1st. It is tomorrow. To sign up, you can jump in afterwards.
Tomorrow's your day of rest and your day of binge eating.
Yeah, get everything in tomorrow because after that it's over. We're going to cheat on Sundays. I'm going to tell you that right now. Sunday is your day with God. Go eat some good family food. But the rest of the time, get some. And, the workouts I'm going to list them 2 ways. I'm going to list simple, body weight only ones and, cardio because I know a lot of people are stuck home. I'm lucky. I have a gym in my garage, like a full gym. So I'm going to be doing that. But we're also going to be going over combative, self-defense, pistol work, rifle work, all that stuff as this grows. I don't know how far I'm going to get through in 30 days, but we're going to wrap this up in a nice 30 days and then see at the end, gauging how are your finances, right? How's your family life, right? How's your spiritual life? How's your physical life? I think everyone's going to be happy that they did this. So, and, if you didn't, what do you got to lose? It's 30 days for free. Yeah. Let's crush it, right? Let's crush it. Let's rally around the family. Let's come together as one team and push forward for this and make us all better, this. I need to get back to my operator self, and I can't wait to do it with you guys. So, any questions from anyone here? I know we still got some people on here, and I'd love to answer any questions that are out there for people who, might have some questions on how to do this. You don't have to be ripped. You don't have to be fit. Everything we do is scalable. It's for somebody, the people here used to work out with us when Tried and Shield had a gym.
I'm going to have to do my, usually how people do like before and after photos of before when they were not great and then after when they're awesome. I'm going to have to do my reverse one. Be like, this is where I was at my
no.
This is where I am now.
We all start with where we're at that day.
No, I was saying this is what I want to get back to because this is where I am now.
Yeah. Well, I got some great pictures over there with me jacked and over here too, so I want to get back to that too. So, all right, Scott, I'm glad you're in. I know Scott. He hits the gym every day, and I can't wait to do with you guys. I can't wait to walk you through my plan. I already started. I went for my first run in forever, and I made the mistake of running on uneven ground. Yeah, not cool. I'm going to be sticking to the pavement for a while.
Oda Pup loved it.
Yeah, Oda Pup did love it. But
he thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. So, hey, Michael Spence, good to see you, brother. Hey, Michael Spence is another cop on the job in another location. I just want to bring up one thing for you that I was talking to people that, hey, that cops out there, and Mike, maybe you can tell me they're doing this back in Boston, but making sure that first officer who's got contact everybody who rolls up after a contact officer is already engaged should show up with PPE on, mask, gloves, the whole work, and then tag out the first contact officer who can go get his PPE on. Are you guys doing that? It's good to see you, my friend. Mike Spence, one of the best dudes out there, great firearms instructor and a great guy. So that's kind of what I've been recommending for guys out there who are on the job. Sometimes you get caught up and you don't have a chance to put a PPE, so contact officer stays different. Number 2 officer, 3 or 4, everyone rolls up with that. No, not cool. Oh, yeah, I've been recently running myself thinking of apocalypse, but also job-related reasons. Of course, here's the thing. Benching 5,000 pounds is not going to help you with coronavirus. It's a cardio thing. It's your lungs. It goes after your lungs, and people who have better lungs are doing better. They're more resilient. So, we're going to be attacking this from all angles. There'll be power, endurance, speed, strength, everything. But you got to attack this, and primarily cardio is your best weapon against the effects if you happen to get sick.
Are you suggesting to get fit just for the health, like of the coronavirus part, or for the potential next step if things go awry?
All the above.
All the above. So you need that combination of the muscle and the cardio.
Totally. So, being a complete warrior, complete athlete, you got to be able to, you want to be like a linebacker or a defensive back, depending on your structure. You want to be able to run if you got to run and haul mail. And at the same time, you have to have that explosive power if you want to, plant your foot and hit hard with when you're striking. And the other thing is, you gotta be trained in some combatives on a regular basis. You gotta have a bag or shadow boxing or a bob doll or, heck, whatever it is. I mean, I remember when I was deployed, I just put on boxing gloves and I would beat the side of the ship.
That works.
It was metal. It wouldn't go anywhere, but that's what I'd do. Or I'd find a pole because a pole's like a heavy.
Yeah.
I'd have to pull it. Like I couldn't hit it as hard as I could, or else I'd jack my wrists up.
Yeah.
But it was something.
Yeah.
Right. And all of you guys who've got wives at home, they're perfect training partners. You get to glove up and hit each other.
Yeah. Yay, me.
Lauren, do you want to tell the story of?
I think you've told this before.
I don't think. I know Mike Spence hasn't heard it.
I can sum it up.
Go ahead.
So those red man suits, the helmets, they seem like they're great protection, but they're really not. I had to realize that the hard way when I was kindly ribbing one of these guys for complaining about their head hurting after sparring a little bit.
After getting housed for like a half hour, a role player. And Lauren, of course, was the person doing the beating. And Lauren can rein the pain. I've trained her for years and she can rein the pain. And she was in shape then. And
not now. And Jason put the helmet on me.
So she's like, why is he complaining? He's got a helmet on. I'm like, oh, we're going to fix this.
No, he had so much pleasure in whacking me in the head. It hurts. It hurts.
Put the helmet on. Poof. Ow. That hurts. Yes, it does.
Yeah. So be kind to your training partner.
Yeah.
Be kind. Or we do have one of those beat 'em up Bob things. And every time I open the door, I'm like, who's the person in our garage? It's like the naked person in our garage. Our dogs freaked the F out the first time that they saw Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get the Bob just because it's great. Hitting the heavy bags with nothing on your, particularly depending on how hard they are, you can injure your wrists and all that stuff if you break down in your discipline. Whereas Bob's a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more real.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's some other great training systems out there too. So, but that's basically it, guys. And Mike Spence, you never answered my question, man. You never told me if you guys are doing that. I'm going to give you a few minutes here. You're probably driving right now and you got your thumb going, so you can answer it after. All right, here we go. Kind words, sir. Thank you. You guys are a great team. Stay safe, bro. Okay, we'll leave it at that, brother. Scott, my wife loves it when I try to sneak in the jiu-jitsu. I caught a kick to the chest one day because of it. At least I prefer the chest than somewhere else. So absolutely exactly right. I'm the biggest guy on our team. Some of these guys can run for days. They're prior military LEOs. It's definitely changed my perspective. Yeah, dude, you're not a warrior unless you can self-propel yourself for a distance. Right? If you can't run 5 miles, you can't you're not effective. You're a liability. And that's just the key of it. You better be able to run 5 miles. I'm not talking about running 5 miles at a breakneck speed, but you better be able to, I would recommend, you better be able to get there. And I would say a respectable time is 8-minute miles at that. Right? Anything under that, you start getting a lot better. But your goal should be 5 minutes at 8 miles. Or 5 miles at 8 minutes.
Yeah.
miles.
Okay. That sounds a lot better.
Yeah. If you want to do something, a first goal, try to do, start with 10-minute miles, right? So the first measuring point is, can you do 3 miles in 30 minutes? Right? And then you kind of start ratcheting up from there.
What about in our backyard that's on a hill?
Yeah. On our hill, you're just going to have to, that's going to be an
an
impact.
extra minute?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
I get an extra minute.
You get an extra minute. Well,
Okay.
if you get an extra minute, I get an extra 2 minutes because I weigh twice as much as you do.
Well, I'll only be running with one sneaker on.
So
that's a handicap, right?
Frugal Fanny over here. I've been telling her for 2 years to buy sneakers. And every time we're in the store, there they are. Let's go get them. And, of course, no, we're not doing that. No. Not doing that. And now, guess what? Here we are in emergency. And guess who only has one sneaker? And it's not even a cool sneaker. It's like the ratty-ass, torn-up sneaker you ever saw. And
Yeah. Yep.
So her 30 days are going to be awesome. She's going to be running in boots.
Heck yeah. Hiking boots. Yeah. I'm going to go order some online, and I'm the worst online shopper ever, so this is going to not be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just buy the same model shoes as you had before, just the newer model. Like if it's the model zebra, buy model zebra in the new colors. That's basically it.
I'll try. They usually change. I mean, that was like 3 years ago.
You'll just have to suck it up and break them in.
Yep.
Because God knows we never return anything.
No, we don't.
How many shoes do we have upstairs from the wedding?
I
I'm just
probably
curious.
have like 6 pair of wedding shoes that I didn't end up wanting to use in my closet.
You must have really long legs, Justin. If you can walk 10-minute miles, you must have some really long legs. Like Lauren's got the turbo walk.
Heck yeah.
She's got long legs. Like if you measure from her hip down there, she should be like 6'2".
I always hated doing the Fitbit watches because his little short stride, we would go the same distance and he would have twice as many steps as me. It was bullshit.
I got my little Barney Rubble legs going on out there, and she's, doing her long, runway walk.
Not
and
cool.
Because of her long runway walk, I'm racking up steps.
It's not fair.
All I'm saying is my GPS watch verified my steps.
I don't know what that means. Verified them.
Meaning that when my steps said I did a mile, my GPS said I was right on. So my steps per mile ratio is correct.
Awesome. What does that mean for me and my long stride?
You're screwed. Well, you got it easy. Come on, you're carrying like 130 pounds running. I can't even imagine what that's like. That'd be like flying.
Just bliss.
Yeah, just flying.
Easy mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try carrying yourself and running. There you go.
No, thank you.
All right, guys. He said, yeah, I'm pretty tall, 6'5". Yeah, 6'5" is pretty tall. I'm 5'9", and I wish I was 6'5", but, that's all cool. The world's built for tall people, I'm sure. I swear. Every obstacle course is easy for tall people. Like stuff that we have to jump, they just pull up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not totally unfair. I need that sweatshirt to run. Dang COVID. Oh,
Yeah,
Scott, we got to get to the post office.
He'll get all jocked up in his mask and everything to get to the post
I
office.
was going to say, you're going to make me go if I get killed by COVID-19 mailing out stuff, I'm going to be a little upset. I'm just saying. So But we'll get it out to you if you're cold out there, shivering in that cold Ohio weather. We'll get it out to you. See what
It's a
he
lot of
says.
pressure, Scott.
A lot of pressure.
Better not get sick.
Hey, Joe Shepis. All right, everyone. So we're going to wrap it up. Remember, 30 days starts April 1st. 30 days of preparedness. I hope all you guys go to that link. I'm going to put it back in there again. I'm creating a free account, a free level of the account, and you're going to be able to get everything that everyone else gets. So then if you want to go up from there, we appreciate it. If not, no big deal.
Let me just clarify. Everything that everyone else gets as far as this day of 30-day whatever.
Yeah, 30 days.
Some of the other stuff on the other tiers does not apply.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So thank you. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless America. And may He give our leaders wisdom to lead us through these troubled times. And may God protect each and every one of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good night.
Out.